is a hidden daily pattern quietly stealing your vitality, enlarging more than just a gland, but your discomfort and worry. So many suffer in silence, feeling a subtle shift within. The deepest understanding, the one simple shift that changes everything for lasting ease, I've saved for our final moments together. Please, stay with me, listen closely for this clarity. Silent disturbance. We live in times of great movement, of rapid change, and yet, paradoxically, many of us find our bodies held in stillness for prolonged periods. Not the stillness of peaceful contemplation, but a stillness born of necessity, of profession, of habit. This outward quiet can mask an inner turmoil, a subtle disturbance that grows almost unnoticed, like a creeping vine, until its effects become undeniable. Think of a mighty river. Its power and life-giving properties are in its flow. If this flow is gradually constricted, if dams are built not of stone, but of inattention and prolonged pressure, the waters behind it begin to swell, to stagnate. The life it supports downstream is diminished. Within our own bodies, a similar principle applies. There is a vital energy, a life force that needs to move, to circulate freely, to nourish every part of our being. When we adopt, often unconsciously, patterns that restrict this flow, particularly in the lower cauldron, the seat of our foundational energy, imbalances begin to arise. It is not a dramatic event often, but a slow accumulation, a gradual thickening, a quiet protest from a part of us that is being overlooked. This is the nature of many disturbances that manifest in our physical form. They are the body's way of speaking, of calling our attention to an imbalance that has its roots in how we live, how we move, or indeed, how we fail to move with awareness. The pressures of the modern world often encourage us to override the body's subtle signals. We push through fatigue, we ignore discomfort, we sit for hours engaged in mental tasks, disconnected from the physical vessel that supports us. This disconnection, this subtle neglect, is where the seed of disturbance is often sown. It is not a fault, but perhaps a consequence of a world that values external achievement sometimes more than internal harmony. The body, however, has an ancient wisdom. It remembers its need for balance, for flow, for attentive care. And when these needs are consistently unmet, it will find ways to make itself heard, sometimes through discomfort, sometimes through a change in its very structure, an enlargement, a blockage, a signal that something essential requires our gentle, compassionate attention. This silent disturbance builds day by day, breath by breath, in moments of unconscious tension, in hours of static posture, in the forgetting of our embodied nature. It is a call to return, to listen, to understand the profound connection between our daily habits and our deepest well-being. The initial whispers are soft, easily dismissed amidst the noise of life. A slight change in flow, a barely perceptible pressure, a feeling of not quite rightness. But these are important messages. They are the first stirrings, the early warnings that the inner landscape is shifting, that the harmony is being challenged. To recognize this silent disturbance is the first step towards restoring that natural, easeful state that is our birthright. It asks not for alarm, but for awareness. It asks for a gentle turning inwards. Body's language. Our body communicates with us constantly, though not always in words we readily understand. It speaks in the language of sensation, of comfort and discomfort, of lightness and heaviness, of flow and restriction. Learning to listen to this language is perhaps one of the most vital skills we can cultivate for our well-being, especially as we journey through the seasons of our lives. When a particular habit begins to exert an undue influence, creating an imbalance within, the body does not remain silent. It sends out signals, initially subtle, like the first rustling of leaves before a storm. Perhaps it's a feeling of sluggishness in the lower body, a sense of congestion that wasn't there before, or a subtle shift in the natural rhythms that we often take for granted. These are not mere annoyances to be brushed aside or masked. They are profound communications, invitations to inquire within. Consider the simple act of remaining seated for many hours, day after day. The physical structure of our body is designed for movement, for a dynamic interplay of energies. When we restrict this movement, especially in the pelvic area, the foundational basin of our torso, we are, in essence, asking a flowing river to become a still pond. While a pond has its own beauty, if the water within it is not refreshed, it can become stagnant. The tissues, the pathways of energy, the fluids that are meant to circulate with ease can become compressed, their vitality diminished. The body might speak of this through a dull ache, a feeling of pressure, or a subtle but persistent sense of fullness that is not related to nourishment. It might manifest as a change in the ease with which vital functions are performed. These are not signs of weakness, but expressions of the body's intelligence, its attempt to signal that its needs are not being fully met. The challenge is that we are often conditioned to look outside ourselves for solutions, for a pill or a procedure to quiet these signals. But what if the signal itself is the guide? What if the discomfort is a teacher, pointing us towards a necessary adjustment in our way of living, in our daily patterns? The enlargement that is spoken of in relation to the prostate or any other aspect of our inner workings can be seen from this perspective not merely as a localized physical issue, but as a more systemic expression of this prolonged stagnation, this interruption of natural flow. It is the body, in its wisdom, creating a more pronounced signal because the softer whispers were perhaps unheard or unattended. Imagine a plant whose roots are confined in too small a pot. It may continue to grow for a while, but eventually its vitality will be compromised. It will show signs of distress. The solution is not to simply trim the leaves, but to understand the needs of the roots, to provide more space, better nourishment, the conditions for healthy growth. Similarly, when we experience an internal enlargement or blockage, it is an invitation to look at the conditions we are creating within ourselves through our habits of body and, indeed, of mind. Is there enough space for energy to flow? Is there enough mindful movement to keep the inner streams clear? Is there an accumulation of tension, both physical and emotional, that is contributing to this feeling of internal pressure? The body's language is often one of metaphor. An enlargement can symbolize an area that is calling for more space, more attention, more conscious presence. It is asking us to soften, to open, to allow. Flow interrupted. The concept of flow is central to understanding health and vitality from a timeless perspective. Not just the flow of blood and lymph, which are vital, but also the flow of what ancient traditions call qi, or vital energy. This energy is the very animator of life, the unseen force that powers all our functions, from the beating of our heart to the clarity of our thoughts. It is meant to circulate smoothly, like a gentle yet powerful stream, reaching every cell, every organ, every corner of our being. When this flow is robust and unimpeded, we experience a sense of ease, of vitality, of inherent health. But habits, particularly those involving prolonged physical stillness coupled with mental preoccupation or stress, can act like impediments in this stream. Imagine a bend in a river where debris naturally accumulates. If the current is strong, it might push through. But if the current weakens, or if the debris is consistently added, a blockage begins to form. Water pools, pressure builds, and the landscape around it changes. This is a powerful analogy for what can happen within our lower abdomen, the area that houses vital organs, including the prostate. This region is a crucial energy center, a reservoir of our foundational vitality. When we spend countless hours sitting, often in a state of mental tension or rush, we are inadvertently compressing this area, restricting the natural pathways of energy. The muscles may become chronically tight, the circulation may become less efficient, and the subtle flow of qi can become sluggish, even stagnant. This stagnation is where the trouble begins. It's like a garden that is not receiving enough fresh water and sunlight. The plants within it cannot thrive. Over time, this interrupted flow, this internal environment of stagnation, can contribute to physical changes. The body, in its attempt to cope with this lack of free-flowing energy and accumulated tension, may respond with inflammation, with a thickening of tissues, or, as in the case we are discussing, with an enlargement of an organ. It is a physical manifestation of an energetic imbalance. The prostate, situated at a critical juncture in this lower energy center, is particularly sensitive to such blockages. Its health is intricately linked to the free flow of energy and fluids in the pelvic basin. When this flow is compromised by habitual patterns of stillness and tension, the gland itself can become, in a sense, congested. This is not to assign blame, but to illuminate a connection that is often overlooked in purely mechanical views of the body. The habit we are exploring is not just about sitting, it's about the quality of that stillness. Is it a relaxed, mindful stillness or a tense, compressed stillness born of stress and disconnection? The latter is what creates the dam in our internal river. This interruption of flow doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, often spanning years, even decades. But the cumulative effect can be significant. Restoring flow, therefore, is key. It involves not just addressing the physical symptoms, but also understanding and gently transforming the habits that created the interruption in the first place. It is about inviting movement back into the body, not necessarily vigorous, but conscious, mindful movement that encourages the qi to circulate freely once more. It is about releasing the accumulated tension, both physical and mental, that has been constricting these vital pathways. When the river flows freely again, the entire ecosystem it supports begins to rejuvenate. Stillness, paradox. There is a profound paradox when we speak of stillness. On one hand, stillness is the wellspring of peace, the gateway to inner calm, the foundation of meditative practice and profound self-awareness. In this mindful stillness, the body is relaxed, the breath is deep and even, the mind is clear and present. This kind of stillness is deeply healing, restorative, allowing the body's natural intelligence to rebalance and regenerate. It is a conscious choice, an active state of receptive awareness. Then there is another kind of stillness, the one we often fall into inadvertently, the stillness of prolonged, unmindful sitting, often accompanied by mental stress, distraction, or a sense of being overwhelmed. This is not the stillness of sanctuary, but the stillness of stagnation. Here, the body might be immobile, but the mind is racing or locked in tension. The breath might be shallow, held. This is the stillness that can become detrimental, the stillness that contributes to the interrupted flow we spoke of earlier. The paradox lies in the fact that the external form, being still, can have such vastly different internal consequences based on the quality of our awareness and our inner state. The habit we are gently warning against is not stillness itself, but this latter form, the prolonged, compressive, and often unconscious immobility that many of us experience in our daily lives, at desks, in cars, in front of screens. In this state, the body is not truly at rest. It is often held in patterns of subtle tension. The shoulders may be hunched, the jaw clenched, the lower back unsupported, the pelvic area compressed. This is the stillness that over time can contribute to a feeling of being stuck, both physically and energetically. The energy that should be flowing freely becomes trapped, creating areas of congestion, particularly in the lower body, which bears the brunt of this prolonged compression. This is where the distinction becomes crucial for understanding issues like prostate enlargement from a holistic viewpoint. It's not just that we are still, but how we are still. Are we still with presence, with breath, with an open and relaxed posture? Or are we still with tension, with distraction, with a forgetting of the body's needs? Cultivating the first kind of stillness, mindful stillness, can actually be an antidote to the problems caused by the second. Taking short breaks from prolonged sitting to stand, to stretch, to breathe deeply, to consciously inhabit the body can transform a period of potentially detrimental stillness into an opportunity for reset and gentle re-energizing. Even while sitting, we can bring awareness to our posture to release unnecessary tension in the shoulders, the belly, the jaw. We can invite the breath to deepen, to reach down into the lower abdomen, creating a subtle internal movement, an inner massage for the organs. The wisdom lies in discerning the difference and consciously choosing the quality of our stillness. It's about transforming passive, compressive immobility into active, receptive presence. This shift in awareness, this subtle change in how we inhabit our moments of stillness can make a profound difference to our internal environment, discouraging stagnation and promoting the free flow of life energy that is so essential for the health of every part of our being, including the delicate balance required for prostate well-being. The paradox then invites us not to fear stillness, but to engage with it more consciously, more wisely. Gentle movement? If the habit of prolonged tense stillness contributes to interrupted flow and internal stagnation, then the natural antidote, the gentle remedy, lies in reintroducing movement, but not just any movement. We are not speaking here of strenuous, forceful exercise, which has its own place, but rather of mindful, gentle movements that specifically encourage the circulation of qi and blood, particularly in the lower body, and help to release the patterns of tension that contribute to blockage. Think of the way a willow tree sways in the breeze, yielding yet rooted, or the way water flows around obstacles, persistent yet soft. This is the quality of movement we wish to cultivate. Practices like Tai Chi and Qigong are ancient systems designed precisely for this purpose. Their slow, deliberate, flowing movements, coordinated with deep breathing and focused intention, are profoundly effective at unblocking stagnant energy, improving circulation, and restoring a sense of inner balance and harmony. But one does not need to become a master of these arts to benefit from their principles. Simple, mindful movements incorporated into the daily rhythm of life can be incredibly powerful. For instance, after a period of sitting, simply standing up and gently swaying the hips from side to side, as if tracing a small circle, can begin to loosen the pelvic area, encouraging blood flow and energetic release. Gentle twists of the torso, while seated or standing, can help to wring out tension and stimulate the internal organs. Consciously breathing down into the lower abdomen, feeling the belly expand on the inhale and soften on the exhale, is itself a form of internal movement, a gentle massage that supports the health of the organs in this region. The key is mindfulness. It is not just about the mechanical action, but about bringing your awareness to the sensations in your body as you move. Feel the stretch, feel the release, feel the subtle shift in energy. This conscious attention amplifies the benefits of the movement. Consider also the simple act of walking, not a rushed, hurried walk, but a mindful walk where you pay attention to the contact of your feet with the earth, the swing of your arms, the rhythm of your breath. This kind of walking can be a moving meditation, grounding your energy and promoting circulation throughout the entire body, including the often neglected pelvic region. The aim of these gentle movements is not to exhaust, but to invigorate, not to strain, but to free. They are about coaxing the body back into its natural state of flowing ease. They help to counteract the compressive effects of prolonged sitting, creating space within the joints, within the tissues, allowing fluids and energy to move more freely. For seniors especially, these gentle, mindful practices are invaluable. They are accessible, sustainable, and carry very little risk of injury, while offering profound benefits for overall well-being and specifically for conditions related to stagnation in the lower body. It is about re-establishing a kind dialogue with your body, using movement as a way to listen to its needs and to offer it the gentle care it requires. Even a few minutes of such mindful movement, practiced consistently, can begin to shift the internal landscape from one of stagnation to one of renewed vitality and flow, directly supporting the health and comfort of the prostate. Mindful pace. The habit we are exploring, this pattern that can contribute to enlargement and discomfort, is not solely a physical one. It is deeply intertwined with the pace of our mind, with the internal climate of our thoughts and emotions. If the body is held in prolonged, tense stillness, while the mind is racing, filled with worry, or caught in a state of perpetual urgency, this creates a profound dissonance, a conflict between inner and outer states that generates its own form of internal stress and contraction. This mental rush, even when the body is still, contributes significantly to the kind of internal tension that restricts flow. Therefore, cultivating a mindful pace, an inner sense of calm and presence, is as crucial as introducing gentle physical movement. This doesn't necessarily mean slowing down all our external activities, though sometimes that is beneficial, but rather it refers to changing our relationship with time and with our own mental processes. It is about finding the stillness within the storm, the calm at the eye of the hurricane. When we are constantly rushing, mentally pushing forward, planning the next thing, replaying the past, our nervous system is often in a state of low-grade activation, a subtle fight or flight response. This state is characterized by muscular tension, shallow breathing, and a diversion of energy away from restorative processes towards readiness for action. If this becomes our habitual way of being, even during periods of physical inactivity, the body remains internally braced, constricted. The lower abdomen, a place that should be soft and receptive, can become tight and guarded, further impeding the free flow of qi and blood essential for organ health. Practicing mindfulness helps us to step out of this relentless stream of doing and to simply be. It involves bringing our attention deliberately and non-judgmentally to the present moment, to the sensations of our breath, the sounds around us, the feeling of our body. This simple act of anchoring our awareness in the now can begin to quiet the mental chatter, to ease the inner hurry, and to allow the nervous system to shift towards a state of rest and rejuvenation. One practical way to cultivate a mindful pace is to build small pauses of presence into your day. Before transitioning from one activity to another, take 3 conscious breaths. Notice the feeling of the air entering and leaving your body. Allow your shoulders to soften. This takes only a moment, but it can interrupt the momentum of rushing and bring a sliver of calm. When you eat, try to just eat, without the distraction of screens or other tasks. Pay attention to the flavors, the textures, the act of nourishing your body. This transforms a routine activity into a mindful practice. When engaged in tasks that require prolonged sitting, set a gentle reminder to check in with your internal state every hour. Are you holding tension in your jaw, your shoulders, your belly? Is your mind racing? Consciously release the tension, take a few deeper breaths, and bring a sense of ease back into your posture and your mental space. This cultivation of a mindful pace is not about becoming unproductive. Paradoxically, it often leads to greater clarity, focus, and efficiency because we are operating from a place of centeredness rather than scattered stress. For the health of the prostate, and indeed for overall well-being, reducing this internal climate of chronic urgency and tension is paramount. It allows the body to soften, to open, to receive nourishment, and for energy to flow where it is needed, rather than being chronically bound up in patterns of stress and contraction. Rooted being. Ultimately, the journey towards lasting well-being, and specifically towards alleviating the conditions that might lead to discomfort or enlargement in areas like the prostate, is about cultivating a sense of being deeply rooted and grounded in oneself. This sense of rootedness is more than just a physical posture. It's an internal state, a feeling of stability, presence, and connection to the earth and to our own core. When we are rooted, our energy naturally settles downwards, creating a sense of calm and strength in the lower body, which is the foundation of our physical and energetic structure. The habit of disconnected rush, of prolonged tense stillness combined with a racing mind, actively works against this sense of rootedness. It tends to pull our energy upwards, into our heads, into patterns of worry and overthinking, leaving the lower body feeling somewhat disconnected, ungrounded, and vulnerable to stagnation. Think of a tree. A tree with shallow roots is easily swayed by the wind, its vitality compromised. But a tree with deep, strong roots stands firm, drawing nourishment from the earth, resilient in the face of storms. We too need to cultivate our roots. Practices that encourage this rootedness include mindful walking, where we consciously feel the connection of our feet to the ground with each step. Standing meditations like those found in Qigong, Zhanzhuang, are profoundly effective at helping us to feel this downward settling of energy, this connection to the earth's support. Even simple visualizations, such as imagining roots growing from the soles of your feet deep into the earth, can help to cultivate this felt sense of stability. When we are rooted, the entire pelvic basin, the lower dantian area, tends to relax and open. Tension that might have been chronically held there begins to release. the breath naturally deepens, reaching down into the abdomen, further encouraging this sense of groundedness. This internal environment of relaxed, rooted presence is profoundly conducive to health. It allows qi and blood to flow smoothly and abundantly to all the organs in the lower body, nourishing them and maintaining their proper function. For the prostate, which resides in this foundational area, this state of rooted being is particularly beneficial. It helps to counteract the upward, constricting pull of stress and worry, and instead fosters an environment of downward, flowing, settled energy. This is not about forcing anything, but about allowing a natural rebalancing to occur. Cultivating this sense of rootedness is a way of life, an ongoing practice of returning to presence, of inhabiting our bodies more fully, of connecting with the simple, profound support that is always available to us from the earth beneath and from the core of our own being. It addresses not just the symptoms of imbalance, but the very ground from which such imbalances arise. As we become more rooted, we often find that our minds become calmer, our emotions more stable, and our physical bodies more at ease. This holistic shift, this movement towards becoming a more rooted being, is perhaps the deepest and most sustainable way to support our long-term health and to gently guide the body back towards its natural state of harmony and well-being, easing the silent disturbances that may have accumulated over time. Lasting harmony. The path to resolving the discomforts that arise from deeply ingrained habits is not through aggressive intervention or quick fixes, but through the gentle, consistent cultivation of awareness and a return to the body's innate wisdom. The one habit we've explored, this combination of prolonged, tense immobility and a disconnected, hurried mind, creates a subtle but pervasive internal dissonance. The final insight, the most powerful shift, lies not merely in stopping this habit, but in wholeheartedly cultivating its opposite, a life infused with mindful movement, inner calm, and a deep-rooted connection to our own being. This is not about adding more burdensome tasks to our day, but about transforming the quality of our presence in whatever we are already doing. It is the understanding that true health blossoms from a state of inner harmony, where the mind is at peace, the breath flows freely, and the body is honored as a sacred vessel, not a mere vehicle. When we bring gentle awareness to how we sit, how we move, how we breathe, and how we engage with our thoughts and emotions, we begin to unravel the patterns of tension and stagnation that may have taken years to form. This journey is one of compassion for oneself, recognizing that these habits often developed unconsciously in response to the pressures and demands of life. The enlargement, the discomfort, these are signals from the body, calling us back to a more balanced, more attentive way of living. By listening to these signals with kindness, by responding with gentle adjustments rather than harsh self-criticism, we create the conditions for healing and for the restoration of natural flow. The most profound changes often come from the smallest, most consistent shifts in our daily rhythm. A few moments of mindful breathing, a short walk with awareness, a conscious release of tension. These practices, woven into the fabric of our lives, accumulate over time, creating a powerful momentum towards greater ease, vitality, and a deep, abiding sense of well-being that radiates from our core, bringing lasting harmony to mind, body, and spirit. This teaching resonated so deeply. For years, I felt that subtle pressure and offness, but couldn't name why. The idea of stagnant stillness versus mindful stillness is a revelation. Time to bring gentle movement and conscious breath back into my days. Thank you for this wisdom.